One day, a mysterious tower erupted in the heart of the city, and with its arrival, the world ended. Some called it the apocalypse, others the catastrophe, while many wasted time arguing over what to name it. But amid the panic and devastation, one truth echoed louder than the rest. The tower had summoned humanity. It issued a single, unrelenting command: climb, if you wish to save the world. Those who answered became known as Tower Walkers, the last hope against annihilation. As they ascended floor after floor, surviving impossible trials and monstrous foes, they were granted a relic unlike any other: the Regression Stone. It offered a chance to return to the day the tower first emerged, with memories intact. A second chance, a way to correct failure, but hope is fragile. Over time, the Tower Walkers fell, some in battle, most to despair. Many chose to turn back, to live again in easier times. Even Yin Huan, the last known survivor, eventually gave in. Only one man remained, Jae Huan, that he alone refused to abandon the climb. No one had ever reached the 99th floor. But someone had to stand, someone had to rise. And so Jae Huan climbed, to show the monsters what it meant to trespass on something truly human. That it was a cool summer day, the kind that wrapped the city in a deceptive calm. Birds circled lazily around an old electricity pole, the sky clear and blue, unaware of what was coming. Inside a small convenience store, a boy stood near the snack aisle. He reached out to grab a packet of 4 sticks, but the moment his fingers touched the bag, it slipped, and all the sticks splattered to the floor in a chaotic tumble. That a child nearby, eyes wide with mischief and suspicion, stared at him. "Did you eat those?" she asked, pointing a tiny accusing finger. "Are you a thief?" Flustered, the boy shook his head, trying to explain. "No, I didn't. It wasn't me. They just fell." Behind them, the television on the counter buzzed softly, airing a news report about yellow dust spreading across the city. Authorities advised the public to remain indoors due to health concerns. The store's atmosphere remained light, almost mundane, until another breaking news alert flashed across the screen, capturing the attention of everyone inside. "A small intensity earthquake has been recorded near Seoul," the news anchor announced. "There are no casualties. However, seismologists have noted a gradual rise in seismic activity. Further tremors may follow." At that very moment, the ground trembled. Outside the store's glass window, the earth cracked open violently. The child turned to the boy, her voice trembling yet curious. "What's that, Mr. Thief?" He stepped closer to the window while picking her up and saw it. The earth was tearing apart, splitting down the middle with a sickening groan. From the heart of the fracture, something monstrous rose, a towering structure of unknown origin and design. Its very emergence made the air vibrate. People outside screamed in panic. Someone dialed 911. Shouting hurried reassurances to those nearby that ambulances were on their way, but no one waited. They ran to save their lives. Soon, more towers appeared, rising in cities across the world. In England, Japan, and Seoul, these colossuses erupted from the earth like waking giants. Their scale, their aura, and their mystery overwhelmed any attempt to understand them. People dubbed them nightmarish towers. Then came the message. A glowing notification appeared in front of every individual, hovering in the air, unexplainable yet undeniable. "Would you like to save humanity by climbing the tower?" The message offered them a choice: to become Tower Walkers. It all felt too much like a game, but no one yet understood the horrors awaiting inside. The brave and the curious entered. Inside, they were forced to ascend floor after floor, fighting off hideous monsters that lurked within. Outside, another notification flashed. The tower impact was imminent. Rescue teams worked frantically to evacuate citizens from the vicinity. One of the rescuers looked up and saw something, or someone standing motionless on one of the tower's floors. Believing it was a survivor, he shouted up, "Hey, it's dangerous. You need to climb down." But what stood there was no human. And then, chaos descended. From the tower's heights, swarms of grotesque monsters rained down, shredding the air with their screams and ripping through the fleeing crowd. Blood, fire, and panic engulfed the streets. That moment was marked in history as the first tower impact. In a matter of hours, 1/3 of humanity was annihilated. Inside the towers, the Tower Walkers were different now, granted power and skills through an interface system that adapted to them. They grew stronger as they ascended, slaying beasts and clearing levels. But even warriors reached their limits. One day, they encountered a blockade, a section of the tower that refused to yield. No passage forward, no way around, until one of them smashed through a wall, revealing a glowing stone resting on the floor. Inchan Huang, someone called to the leader of the Tower Walkers. "Look at this." It was the regression stone. A notification explained its function. It could send them back in time to the day the towers first appeared. Their memories would remain intact. The stone could even be split into smaller pieces and still retain its power. Inchan looked around and said, "I'll go first. If it works, I'll find a way to contact you." He crushed the stone and vanished. Stunned silence filled the chamber. Had he gone back in time? Or had something else happened? Sakamoto, a former science teacher among them, stepped forward to interpret the event. He spoke of multiverse theory, parallel timelines, and fractured realities. According to his explanation, Inchan had indeed traveled to the past, but not in a way that allowed him to exist simultaneously in the present. The timeline had diverged. If others used the stone, they too might end up in different timelines, or perhaps the same one. No certainty existed. But one truth was clear: towers never lied. Then, outside, the second tower impact struck. The decision loomed. Inside the tower, the walkers debated. Use the regression stones and escape this endless war? Or stay and risk dying in the now? Eventually, despair crept in. Many gave up. One tower walker dropped to his knees, surrendering, waiting to be devoured by monsters. But before death reached him, a group of comrades charged in, blades flashing, cutting down the beasts in a dance of fury and defiance. They pulled him to his feet. "We're still here," one of them said, crushing a regression stone in his palm. "Let's not be tempted by the past." They stood tall together, bloodied but resolute. "They are the last defenders of humanity." They told him, "If the world must fall, let it fall while we fight. We live now. We breathe now. Carpe diem." Jaehoon stood still, his breath ragged, his hands trembling as he looked at Hyunwon, battered, bloodied, and barely clinging to consciousness. A quiet sigh escaped Hyunwon's lips, and something in that sound broke Jaehoon from within. Where did this all go wrong? He wondered. As far as he could remember, they had been holding their ground against the monsters. No, more than that. They had been winning. Just a few days ago, Yinhuan had approached him, eyes glowing with urgency. "It's time to strike," he had said. There was no hesitation in his voice, only the quiet determination that had always defined him. They had flanked the monster from both sides, Jaehoon darting in from the left, Yinhuan from the right. Blades danced through the air, glinting with power as they sliced into the beast's flesh, eventually severing its head while tearing through the rest of its monstrous body. When the dust settled, they returned to the others, checking on the status of their comrades. There were no casualties, someone had reported. Just a few injuries. They'll be fine after a couple days of rest and healing. That had brought relief. Hope. Even as Jaehoon walked past the battlefield, his eyes landed on a sword lying amidst the rubble. Unlike anything he had ever seen, it shimmered with a strange, dual light. Sunlight and moonlight fused into metal. A notification glowed faintly above it. Wormsbane, a sword sharpened for 1,000 days and nights by Byongwai, guardian of the 85th floor, in order to defeat Adragon. Contains the energy of the sun and moon. That he picked it up with reverence, feeling the weight of destiny in its hilt. So far, things are going well, he had thought. If this continues, we might actually reach the final floor, just like Yinhuan said. We might be able to save the world. But Jaehoon had no idea what awaited them on the 98th floor. The Chamber of Hellfire was its name, and it lived up to its promise. As they entered, an oppressive heat slammed into them. What emerged from the flames were not ordinary monster. They were gargantuan, blazing beasts, wreathed in fire, with scales that repelled every attack. Swords bounced off. Skills fizzled into nothingness. Spells vanished in the inferno. Jaehoon watched in horror as one by one, his comrades fell. Screams echoed, bodies burned, hope shattered. Amidst the chaos, he heard Yunwan's voice, strained and desperate. "Jaehoon, I can't hold on. It's beyond me." And then it happened that a monstrous horn, sharp and ablaze, pierced through Yunwan's chest. Blood sprayed, and for a second, the world stilled. Jaehoon's vision blurred, not from tears, but from rage. With a cry that tore from his soul, Ha charged at the beast. Wormsbane pulsed in his grip, and as he approached, he saw a spiral of radiant light swirling around the monster shorn. Channeling every ounce of fury and will, Jaehoon slashed through the light coming from the beast. Once, twice, again, the creature screamed, and with a final blow, he shattered it into smoldering fragments. But the moment he turned back, what met his eyes struck him harder than a horn ever could. Yunhuan was still alive, and in his hand, he held a regression stone. No, Jaehuan whispered, stepping closer. He had never seen Yunhuan look so defeated. The man who had once been the source of laughter, who had smiled even when surrounded by death, who had earned the name Smiling Knight from all who followed him, now looked empty, hollow. His face bore no joy, no courage, only sorrow. I thought you were stronger than this, Jaehuan said, voice trembling. Even when things were falling apart, you always smiled. Yunhuan averted his gaze. I know what you see, and yes, it's pitiful, he murmured, but I can't take it anymore. The pain, the losses. I thought I could endure, but I was wrong. He looked at Jaehuan, eyes filled with tears. I'm leaving this world, Toyou. I know you have the strength, more than anyone I've ever known, so I am entrusting it, everything, to you. And then he was gone. The light of the regression stone consumed him, and with it, the Smiling Knight vanished from the chamber of hellfire. Jaehuan stood alone, the silence around him heavier than any battlefield, but he did not falter. I need you to keep moving, he whispered to himself, as if speaking to the ghost of Yunhuan still lingering in the air. With shaking hands, he opened the chamber's door, and what lay beyond shocked him. Snow, gentle, quiet. Falling snowflakes drifted from above, blanketing the path ahead. After the fire and blood, the frost was almost kind. But Jaehuan knew better. The real storm was only beginning. The 99th floor was a wasteland of eternal frost, where time itself seemed to stand still beneath a blanket of ice. Jaehuan stood alone in the middle of a snowstorm that never ceased, facing the creature he had fought for 10 long, grueling years. Before him loomed the impossible, Frostworm Velchisis, the guardian of the 99th floor, born of the Forbidden Land, a creature not meant to exist within the realm of men. I wonder, the great WRM's voice rumbled through the blizzard, laced with malice and amusement. Are you finally giving up, little rat? Jaehuan, breath shallow and vision blurred by snow and exhaustion, raised his sword and smirked. Of course not. Are you already tired of playing with me? But even as he spoke, his lungs burned with every inhale. Frostworm's breath, laden with pure elemental cold, gnawed at him. And though Jaehuan had long maxed his resistance to snow and frost, it was no match for this ancient beast's aura. Without the gear left behind by those who had once walked beside him, he would have perished 100 times over. He wore Wormsbane, the sword of radiant sun and moonlight from the 85th floor. His armor, the Ice Demon armor, a final gift from Yunhuan, still clung to his battered frame, absorbing and repelling waves of ice. And in his wrist, the Fire King's bracelet pulsed with dying embers, shielding his heart from freezing over completely. Yet even these divine artifacts were wearing thin, and so was he. He tightened his grip on Wormsbane, and in a whisper lost to the wind, muttered, Seal? I'm sorry I couldn't save you. His mind drifted, unbidden, to memories of his friends as he returned to Aptus. Aptus, founded on the 50th floor after the defeat of the monstrous WRM Alteminus. It had once been a sanctuary for the broken and the brave, where wounded tower walkers sought healing or refuge. There, amidst the quiet clang of hammers and the scent of potions, Jaehuan had once found a sliver of peace. He had sat in the smithy, watching sparks dance from molten steel. You're the last one here now, Jay, he had said, nodding to the blacksmith. Jay, gruff and grizzled, had looked up. Aptus was built on blood. Now it's nothing but ghosts. Indeed, the town was nearly deserted. Only 2 tower walkers remained, Jay, the smithy, and Lady Hiron from the potion shop. The rest were either dead or had vanished without a trace. Going again? Jay had asked, eyeing Jaehuan's repaired gear. I think I'll beat him this time. Jaehuan had replied with a tired smile. Jay then leaned closer, voice low. Did you ever notice anything strange inside the towers? Jaehuan had hesitated, and then nodded. The first time we found the regression stone, there was something scribbled on the wall behind it. The tower inside the tower. The nightmarish inside the nightmarish. I never understood what it meant. Maybe no one was meant to, Jay had said. But it's worth remembering. Supplies from the lower floors have stopped. There were also no response from the first floor. You know what that could mean. Jaehuan had nodded grimly. The tower impact. That makes 10 now. Maybe there's no one left. Jay's expression darkened. And Lady Hiron, she's gone. Only 2 reasons for that. Either she went back using the regression stone, or she went down, back to the first floor. The silence between them had been heavy. Then, Jaehuan had asked, will you teach me a few techniques of blacksmithing? I might need it. Jay had agreed without a word. and the hammering resumed. Now, again standing before Velchisis once more, Jaehwan could feel the armor cracking, the frost seeping in, no more hiding. The great double rim growled, rising with a thunderous beat off wings. No human has ever dared to reach this floor. I must say, you've impressed me. Jaehwan's eyes narrowed. So the last compliment I receive in this cursed tower comes from a monster. I'm honored, he said bitterly. But unfortunately for you, I'll be killing you now. Velchisis let out a freezing breath of laughter. Such arrogance. But I'm done playing with you. Jaehwan's heart pounded. Good, he muttered, and then he charged, snow rising like a storm behind him. The battle had stretched on for what felt like eternity. Jaehwan, bloodied and broken, stood amid a field of frost-stained crimson. His body screamed in agony, every breath ragged, every heartbeat a thunderclap of pain. Blood dribbled from wounds torn open across his chest, arms, and legs, painting streaks of red across the once pristine ice. He could barely stand, and yet, he did. Across from him, Frostworm Velchisis towered, his breath forming glaciers in the air. Still not giving up, the ancient WIRM sneered. Is stabbing the only thing you've got? That word, stabbing, pulled Jaehwan into a distant memory. Unlike the others, he hadn't started tower walking from the beginning. He had joined late, missing out on hidden classes, secret techniques, and divine skills, while others flaunted blessings and rare titles. All he had was one act, that was stabbing. So he focused on it, obsessively, endlessly. He stabbed 50 million monsters, again and again, until something in the motion changed out a rhythm developed. A sharpness, precision beyond thought. His arm moved faster than instinct, smoother than technique. It became his own hidden skill, the instinct of the wasp, as people joked, half-seriously claiming must have been won in a past life. Now, before Velchisis, that relentless practice bore fruit. After 100 vicious thrusts, he finally saw it. A crack in the WRM's ice-armored chest, minuscule, fragile, but it was enough. Then something strange happened. A light began to leak from Velchisis. Jaehwan froze for a moment. That same light, he had seen it once before, on the 98th floor, when he pierced a monster's core. Without hesitation, he lunged. His blade, the worm's bane, howled through the wind as it plunged into the creature's eye, slicing deep and creating a searing hole. Velchisis roared in agony. How dare you? Even as Jaehwan pressed forward, the frostworm snarled. Don't get cocky just because you landed one hit. You will never defeat me. Even if there were 10 humans like you, then maybe you'd have a chance. But now, you're all alone. The frostworm's voice grew darker, colder. Your kind were fools, believing in nightmare stones. Jaehwan blinked, thrown off. Nightmare stones? He had never heard of such a thing. The words didn't ring any bells, but there was no time to dwell. Velchisis lunged again, his talons gleaming with frostfire. Jaehwan, on the brink of collapse, knew that one more hit would kill him. He retreated into the frozen ruins of the battlefield, but he didn't run forever. He came back, again and again, wounded, healed, defiant. Years passed in that frigid hell. And after years of countless clashes, sacrifices, and brushes with death, Velchisis fell. His mountainous body crashed into the ice, shaking the entire 99th floor. 5 years had passed since that first battle. Jaehwan now sat atop the great corpse, eyes dull with fatigue, heart still racing. He looked down and muttered, "What did you mean by nightmare stones?" As if answering his question, a cascade of glowing notifications filled the air. Your strength has reached max. Your health has reached max. Your agility has reached max. You have obtained the title, Nightmare of the 99th floor. A moment later, another reward emerged from the fallen guardian. You are rewarded with the Sword of Frostworm Velchisis. It is infused with the breath of Frostworm Velchisis. The blade reveals itself only when it senses its master's desire to fight. Jaehwan picked it up. It was oddly small, hardly a sword, more like a dagger. Yet its weight thrummed with unimaginable power. He tested it in his hand, then stared ahead. Before him, space warped, twisting into a dark, swirling void. Floating above it was a glowing sigil, 100, written in an ancient, mysterious script. His heart pounded. Could this be the 100th floor? Without hesitation, Jaehwan stepped forward and leapt into the void.